I'm almost through season 2 of Ash vs. Evil Dead, and it reminded me of the fact that I've stopped watching certain shows due to deaths of characters. So it got me thinking about it, and Yvonne said, well, it's not the first time that's happened. You should do a video about it. How you feel? Spoiler alert for people who want to watch Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2. Stop now. Seriously, because I'm going to discuss a death that pissed me off. So, you have a main set of main characters, and I get it. Ash is the main character. Killing off Pablo was, it sucked. And I get that it's supposed to suck. I get that you're supposed to be upset. I get that. Sometimes shows get it wrong. So here's a top 11 count of times watching TV shows. There's going to be a lot of Walking Dead in here. Not lying to you. A lot of Walking Dead. I used to watch that show religiously. And it's very slowly, literally killed off my desire to watch it. And we'll get into that. So these are the most upsetting or shocking deaths I've seen on a show. And I'll explain why. Number 11 is from House of Cards. It's Zoe Barnes at the start of Season 2. Zoe was a very important character in Season 1, and then she's just dead. And it was too bad because Kate Mara was doing some fantastic work on that show. Seriously, Kate Mara is a fantastic actress with good material. Don't judge her based on the Fantastic Four remake. She can be a very, very good actress. And it's a crying shame that she just gets pushed in front of a train and then that storyline just kind of peters out. And I was very upset by that, but I soldiered through. I didn't stop watching House of Cards until about halfway through season 3. I'm going to probably accidentally say Game of Thrones here because that's what's been going through my head has been if I want to watch people that I care about die, I'd start watching Game of Thrones. And that's part of the reason I don't watch the show. Number 10 on this list is Lizzie from The Walking Dead. Lizzie, pretty little girl. What could be wrong with her? Well, in the apocalypse, a lot is wrong with Lizzie. And of course, her death is justified, and she's on this list because it's shocking. Even when you know it's coming, even when you know Carol has to do it, it's shocking and it's upsetting. You come out of that upset, and I'm okay with that level of upset because it was good for the story, and it didn't hurt the flow of the show. If anything, it helped. It was some really hard stuff to watch, but it was also necessary for the show, and it made Carol grow. Number 9, we're going back to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I remember when they killed off Joyce, Buffy's mom. I remember thinking, why and what? Huh? And I waited because it's a sci-fi show. I waited for some magical cure. And what happened is after Joyce was gone, the series kind of lost some cohesion, and it sort of went into areas that I think helped kill the show. Joyce was an integral character, even though she wasn't a main character. The fact that Buffy had a mom and had somebody at her home that she kind of was beholden to and counted on was huge. And when they took Joyce out, I didn't feel like Buffy was believably strong enough by herself to do this. She could beat up vampires and kill vampires all day, but in terms of paying the bills, having a job, doing the 9-to-5 stuff you need to do to pay your bills, I didn't buy it. So it hurt the show. Number 8, Hershel on The Walking Dead. I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch the actual event. I knew it was coming. I knew where they were going with the whole governor thing, and I didn't like it. Hershel was a fantastic character. I know there's people who got upset by Dale's death, but Dale's was necessary. I didn't feel like Hershel's was. I thought it was done more for shock value, and there are deaths on this list that I feel were done for shock value. I could very well be wrong, of course. Number 7, also The Walking Dead, Andrea. So they spanned a few seasons making you hate Andrea, and she's useless, and she's pointless, and then they make her useful, and they actually give her a storyline, and they make her character interesting, and they reward you for being interested by killing her. And it's pointless how she dies. There's no big, huge fight when she dies. She's just bit and shoots herself, and it's like, So I invested all this energy in watching this show. Why? Started to take over with Andrea's death. Andrea's death was a big kick in the gut for me, and it was a big part of the reason why I stopped watching the show as much. Number 6, 10th Doctor. I started watching Doctor Who when David Tennant was already gone. And I motored through the seasons he was in. The last 2 episodes, the two-parter with the Master when his character's killed off and becomes the 11th Doctor, I couldn't watch it. I had to watch an episode of the 11th Doctors from a season beyond when he takes over to convince me that I wanted to watch it. So I was like, man, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can watch the 10th Doctor die. And then I did after watching what Matt Smith did with the character, and it's a good thing because it was fun. Number 5 is the one I just watched, Pablo. I really enjoyed the character Pablo. I enjoyed the idea that Ash has to face his own racism a lot through Pablo. I enjoyed the banter between the two of them. It's come to light that there was an argument between Rob Tappert and the showrunner. Rob Tappert wanted the show to be more horror-based. The showrunner felt that there was more comedy that was needed. I will say this. The Evil Dead has been comedic for too long for it to turn to pure horror now. Anybody who wants the pure horror back, you've got to go back to the original movie, because Evil Dead 2 is a lot of comedy too. If they go in a more dramatic, horrific direction, and if at the end of this season I have other deaths to add to this list that I'm not going to like, we're going to have issues. I love Ash versus the Evil Dead, very much so. But at some point I go, well, I don't care what happens to these people, so why am I watching this? And I'm getting close, because I know Ash isn't going to die. They're not going to kill Ash off. So I get emotionally invested in Kelly and Pablo, and now Pablo's dead. So there's that. Number 4, this one still hurts, Bobby in Supernatural. Bobby was their dad once their dad was killed off. Their dad's death always upset me. Always upset me that they spent season 1 looking for their dad, and then their dad dies. I'm like, really? They spent the whole season looking for him. They found him, and he's dead. Great. Awesome. Perfect. Great. Yeah, thanks. But Supernatural does that. And there's a lot of upsetting deaths on Supernatural. A lot of them. I think of Jo. Cute little blonde who maybe was going to hook up with Dean, and then she's dead. Her and her mom are dead. So there's that. And that pissed me off too. But Bobby was the big one. When they killed off Bobby, and then they had like his spirit hanging around, and it's like, do you have to keep reminding us Bobby's dead? That the moral compass of this show is dead? That their father figure is dead? The one that holds this together is dead? The one that kind of made it make sense is dead? Like, for Sam and Dean before they became Men of Letters, whatever that means, and I've been watching the show and I still don't get it. I couldn't figure out how they had the money to travel all across the country over and over and over and over again. I get that they hustled at pool, but wouldn't they run out of places to hustle? And is Dean like the greatest pool player in the history of pool? Like, and then there's credit card fraud, but at some point, don't they run out of people to steal credit cards from? Like, there's so many levels that I was like, how in the world are they affording to do this? They should be dead by now. And Bobby was the one that it sort of made sense. That Bobby was helping him. And Bobby had this and that. And he had all these resources. And then he was just dead. And there was no real warning to me that was going to happen. And it was very upsetting when it happened. So, number 3. This one really, that was a gut punch. Rita in Dexter. Rita was the moral center of the show. And after she was killed off, the show lost tons. It was never the same again. Dexter, there were some interesting storylines after, like Dexter trying to interact with her kids after she died, but ultimately her death was his fault, and he didn't seem to have any mourning because he's Dexter. He's a serial killer, but killing off Rita to me felt sensationalistic more than necessary. And it was a climactic way to end what was the greatest season on the show, and it could never live up to it again. The Trinity Killer, John Lithgow, absolutely easily the greatest storyline they ever had on Dexter, and it never got back to that level again. Number 2, it's Glenn. It's The Walking Dead. That was the death knell. That was what finally made me say, yeah, no, I'm done. You'll notice The Walking Dead's on this list a lot because I watch The Walking Dead a lot. But at this point, it's just a bunch of meat. I don't even see characters anymore. The only characters left that I care about are Daryl, Michonne, Rick, and Maggie. And the rest of them, I can't be bothered because I know they're all going to die. And I know odds are Daryl's going to stay because they make too much money off merchandise from him, and people will riot if he gets killed off. Rick's the main character. They're not going to kill him. Michonne's got the cool swords, and she's got a lot of merchandise with her face on it, so they're not going to kill her off, which leaves Maggie. Hershel was her dad. Glenn was her boyfriend. And number 1 was her sister, Beth. I had a really hard time. Really hard time with that one. In real time on the show, I mean, it's easy for us because it's seasons apart, but in real time on the show, Maggie lost her dad, she lost her sister, and then she lost Glenn. And this was very close together for her. And it's a gut punch every time. Beth died in the most pathetic way manageable. And it was shock value. Oh my God, Beth just got shot. She's dead. It was ridiculous. And I remember I actually literally cried when it happened. I did. I was so upset. I looked up Emily Kinney on Google. I found her page for her. I guess she's a singer, so I found her page for all of that and listened to a few of her songs, and I watched interviews with her just to remind me, okay, she's not really dead. And then they showed an interview with her on Talking Dead where she's just crying because she's going to miss these people so much, and it just sucks that she's leaving. And it's like, why did they have to kill Beth off? I get that The Walking Dead is a zombie show and nobody's safe, and you should never feel safe on a horror show. But to me, the show crossed the line one too many times. They know they did, because after the murder of Glenn and Abraham was upsetting too. And Glenn's, what was upsetting with his too was they spend half a season where you think he might be dead, and then he's found. He shows up, and him and Maggie have this emotional reunion, and then he's dead a few days later in Showtime? No, that's ridiculous. And I know people are going to say, well, that's what happens in the comics. Not like that, it doesn't. Like, this show, Walking Dead, jerks around the emotions of the viewer too much. Way, way, way too much. And with the death of Glenn, I think they figured out they crossed the line. The Glenn and Abraham murders were so graphic and so grim that they came out a few episodes later and said, all right, we're going to tone back on the graphic violence in the show. Then they're missing the point too. It's not the graphic violence that got us as much as they took two characters that we really liked and killed them off for no reason. It's not like Negan, from what I read in spoilers and from what I saw in highlights, it's not like Negan did a whole lot in that season that followed. They had this big, huge reveal. Here's Negan with his baseball bat. Everybody's going to die. And then talking happened. Well, you got to take Rick out and talk to him. Rick's got to go talk to Negan. Doesn't Rick know by now? Point and shoot. Oh, you're human? Shoot. You don't waste time talking to them because they're just going to kill you anyways. If you see humans, shoot them faster than you shoot walkers. And that's the other part of the problem with The Walking Dead. There are no characters on the show that I actually really identify with now, except for Maggie on some level, and that she's lost everything. The others are all just basically pricks. They should just call it The Walking Pricks, because everybody on the show is an ass. And it's like, why are you watching this? Why? Just to see people die. Well, alright, have fun with that, but, Rick certainly doesn't have the moral superiority that he used to. He's done a lot of shitty things. Daryl is a great guy. Got Glenn killed. And they had Daryl dealing with that, and he's upset, and then he was put in that room by Negan, and they played the same song over and over again to torture him, which was honestly probably the most interesting episode this season. I actually watched that one start to finish. That was a really interesting episode. No upsetting deaths and actual character development. And and that makes it even more jarring when they have these really graphic scenes of violence to kill off beloved characters just so you'll talk about it and just to get the ratings up. And for that reason, because I'm that jaded and that upset by it, I don't watch The Walking Dead anymore. I still watch Fear the Walking Dead because it's a damn good show. Fear the Walking Dead is fantastic, and this season's been great for Fear the Walking Dead. But now I'm in a position where Ash vs. Evil Dead might be throwing me off here. I don't want to watch just the adventures of Ash, as much fun as that is. And it is to the point where anytime that a new character is put into the show, I know they're going to die. So if they're going to make it so that even the core characters, the ones on the cover of the bloody DVD, are going to get killed off, I don't know how much I'm going to want to watch this season 3. And season 3's been delayed by Starz. It's not going to be on Halloween like the last two were. There are warning signs that the show's potentially going off the cliff, sort of. And it could be too much oversight from Rob Tappert, who's one of the original creators of the show. Absolutely. One of the original creators of the movie. Tappert and Raimi came up with it. Bruce Campbell was their buddy from college. And, the movie's just let's throw as much crap at Bruce Campbell as possible and see if we can knock him over. I get that. But Pablo's death just reminded me of all this other crap that upset me. And there's nothing worse than Beth's death on Walking Dead. You guys can let me know in the comment section below which deaths on TV upset you. Which ones bothered you the most. And let me know why. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.